Hello and welcome to another award-winning podcast of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander with Bona Adhesives.
You sure about that? I'm Rob Johnson with the Bona Training.
All you got to do is add one more thing to the script, and I can't. It's like my father-in-law said to me one day when I was an apprentice carpenter. He said, "You're like a chicken. Every day is a brand new day to you."
A new day. Nice.
Yeah.
The award-winning. What?
Married.
I'd love that. What episode did we put in there to win the award? Do you remember?
Yeah, you know which episode it was.
I wonder what episode was that?
Yeah, I think that was your fire safety. Yeah, your fire safety episode.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Hey, you got any more?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. So, I'd like to have another example of some guy that was like, you're like a one-hit wonder song. You're like
hell yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah, we've done 900 episodes and one was mine.
Yeah. And it just happened to be a grand slam, knocked out of the park grand slam, bases loaded, grand slam.
Yeah. What I don't say much, but when I do, it's gold. It's not
because if you got anything else, you could step up at any time.
I'm gonna keep something in the hopper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. It's like there's what do you call it? A sales funnel. You got anything else in that funnel there?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's coming.
Well, let's start with this right now.
I mean, you've outdone yourself on, I think, this show and the last show. Those were really good. That's all you. They were great. I think they're super. So
I'm so excellent. I don't remember any of them.
I know.
Shows.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. A deer doesn't, like you say, a deer doesn't wake up and think, today I'm going to run like a deer.
Yeah. No, that's not the quote.
You just go. Oh, no, that's not the quote. I thought that was.
No, the deer doesn't wake up and say to itself, today I'm going to run pretty. It just runs.
Oh, it just runs. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That was a Frank Sinatra quote talking about George Jones, the country singer George Jones.
No kidding.
He said he was the best. He said he was either the first or second best he's either the first or best singer in the world. Pretty good compliment from a crooner from New York about a country boy from Texas.
Frank Sinatra said that? That's amazing.
You know who else was a big Frank Sinatra fan? Do you know Willie Nelson grew up listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra, a lot of Mexican mariachi music, a lot of soul music in Texas there, in a little town in Texas. I think I can't remember the name of the town. One horse town. Actually, there was only one horse in the town. That's how he learned how to ride. It was one horse in that town, and but his musical interest was so varied for a guy who just became a country singer. It's crazy. So you'd never know it.
I can't believe Willie Nelson grew up listening to Sinatra.
Sinatra, all the country music, all the country greats and everything, and but was
that's wild.
When he became a DJ on a radio station, he would often mix in a Frank Sinatra song, a Louis Armstrong song on a country station in Texas. That takes some doing. So anyhow, all right. Today, traffic go. Rob, go. You've been working with.
Right off the bat with Traffic Go, okay? And I'm not telling, look, if you're happy with Traffic HD, stay with Traffic HD. The last thing I want to do is change somebody from something that is just working amazing. You and I both know we've been in the finish game a long time, and the last thing we want to do is switch somebody from something that they love and it's working and everything. But I think my biggest thing with Traffic Go, if you throw away on Traffic HD, if you throw away 1 quart a week, okay, if you mix up and you've got, after the end of the week, you've thrown away 1 quart, that's about $1,500 a year. $1,500 is $1,500, okay?
Yep.
And I mean, I think our biggest thing with the Traffic Go is the no waste. I'm amazed how many guys come to my schools. I literally had one in March say to me, I'm mixing up traffic and showing everybody how to mix traffic. And he goes, "Would you be interested in buying back some of those hardener bottles?" And I looked at him and I said, "What?" And this guy runs a few big crews, right? He's got a bunch of guys. And he goes, "Yeah, a couple of my guys don't like using the hardener. So I was wondering, I got so many of this left over. Is it possible for you to, buy these back?" And I was
Wow.
just absolutely blown away. And I said, "Listen, I want you to do me a favor. No, I'm not going to buy anything back." I said, "But now I want you to switch to Traffic Go." It's an absolute no brainer because I'm blown away by how many people misuse the hardener, or
Mm.
I don't use the hardener on the first coat, only on the final coat. Or if you're one of these people that's playing that game, okay, just switch to the Traffic Go. You'll be giving your customer a much better job, and the money is not going to change anything. Okay, but you'll be giving the customer a much better system rather than playing backyard chemical and not using the hardener on some coats and using the hardener on the other, or double hardeners, or not, I forgot it. And you really see it with bigger crews. Now, more your owner operator crews, like I even said to Bum one day, I go, "Hey, you should switch to Traffic Go." And he looked at me and he's like, "Nope, I always mix up enough." He's in total control of it. So, for somebody like him, he's like, "No, I'm really good with the HD. I'm not changing a thing. Everything, everybody loves it. It's great, great, great." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Why would you change as long as you don't have waste?" But you do see this with larger multi crews out there. Man, oh man, I can't stress enough. Like, take that whole adding the hardener correctly or not adding it or forgetting it. It's all out of the equation now, and just move over to the Traffic Go. You'll thank me for doing it.
Well, I mean, back in the day when you had a single component or you had a two component floors. Now you got a single component that is a Cadillac of single components. I mean, I was in, I don't know, I was in Sweden a couple weeks ago, Rob. So
I wasn't. I,
yeah, sorry.
I well, I figure I'm never going anywhere ever again because they let me go to the NWFA. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm that's my travel for next 10 years.
Well, I ate enough for both of us while I was over there. So, but I was talking to the lead chemist over there about the technology that's in Traffic Go. And dude, it's insane. It really is. I mean, a top line product. And so, and especially for guys who are like, man, I want the two component type of quality product. And you just can't get in a single. I'm not saying it's as strong as Traffic HD because it's not, but it's a damn good finish, man. For a single component, it blows away everything. So, um, and I think one of the biggest complaints for contractors. I mean, I heard that one as well, and now certainly I've seen that as well, where guys aren't using the hardener and what have you, and guys are like still transitioning off the oil and the water. Um, One of the biggest complaints you'd always hear the guys saying, "I can't babysit a floor for 2 or 3 days waiting for a coat, to put the second coat on." Um, we talked about the other episode of that we just had of customer concerns and everything, how long the jobs take. To be able to streamline it and just use a product like this, and we have multiple guys that you're concerned about them using the hardener and this, that, and the other. It takes that off the table, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Did we talk about what today's show is going to be, or did we just go right into Traffic Go?
Well, I thought it was about Traffic Go.
Oh, okay.
Well, we started talking about couple different things here. Well, you and I before the show, and one of his top contractor complaints about hardwood floor finishes in general,
Yes.
right? Like
Right.
dry
Right.
dry time is too slow. Right. We talked about waiting on coats and yeah, that's a kill. That's a job killer or a
Hmm.
production schedule killer, right? And and then you got humidity swings to worry about and unpredictable uh, cure times because of weather in the winter in the Northeast and this, that, and the other. So we tied it into Traffic Go because we also talked about how much Traffic Go has really taken off and what a good product that is for us. So we'll continue from there then, okay?
Okay.
A pain point also contractors have also is with water-based finishes, drying too fast and showing lap lines or requiring a high skill level to apply cleanly. Okay, that's a real concern because that's what the homeowner sees the most. I can't say enough about rolling. Is really helped, but I don't think it's an end all be all. But I think rolling has really done a lot for our industry and has taken the learning curve of using water-based products. I could probably say the same thing about oil. Uh, has really shortened the learning curve by a landslide. It used to be that if you stop for 30 seconds, you see it forever. But now with the and I think one of the main things with this that people are finding out is the coverage rate can really make or break your job.
Hmm.
So
So let's dive into this. Okay. Lap marks and what was it? Lap marks, and let me read this here. Application sensitivity. Um, it happened with us today. Okay. Today was day 2 of the school. And on day 2, I like to get down Chroma, Dry Fast, and our water-based sealers. And I stressed every single class that this is the most important day of the class. Absolutely 100%. Okay. Lap marks and the issue that you run into with application sensitivity. Because to me, this is the most important coat because this is the one that's going to take the longest to dry. Or
talking
I'm
about
sorry, the going to be the least amount of working time. Okay.
you
This
talking about the
first seal coat on bare wood
yeah.
is, I think, the absolute toughest coat out there because it dries faster than the other coats because it's being dried on both sides. The air is sucking the moisture out, and the wood, being hygroscopic, is sucking the moisture out on both. So it's being dried on both ends. So it's drying really, really quick. Now, this is where I'm stressing is there is so much you can do to give yourself more working time. Burnishing the floor to a 120, making sure that the fans are off, making sure doors are closed, making sure windows are closed. There's no airflow going on. Controlling the heat. If you have forced hot air and it's coming out of vents, make sure that those vents aren't turning on. Tampico brush.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Tampico brush, wow, that makes a huge difference. And it's quicker and easier than vacuuming a floor, but it does such a great job. Okay, and getting that floor good and smooth with a Tampico brush. But the other thing is coverage rates.
Yeah.
So, and today we had on one panel, I had 6 different guys pulling a T-bar for the first time. Okay, and a couple of guys are like, look at, and we're pulling clear seal. And, I know that's so easy to work with, but a couple of guys are like, well, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, we don't have time to make this perfect. Okay. We do not have time to make this perfect. The clock is ticking. This stuff is drying pretty quick because of it's the first coat on bare wood. I said, but we've done everything to get this finish to meet us halfway. I said, we hit our coverage rates. There's no airflow. I said we use a Tampico brush. We burnish the floor. I go, we've done everything. And I go, as long as you do everything, the finish will meet us halfway. And when everybody left, we walked over to that panel and they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked. And one guy goes, wow, I can't believe, he goes, I had my eye on this mark right here. And he goes, and it's gone. And I said, yeah. I said, as long as you follow the rules, as long as you, like I said, airflow, coverage rates, Tampico brush, burnishing the floor, as long as you do all that, our finish will meet you halfway. And it does every single time.
And this time of year, I would also say acclimate your finish. Well, pretty much winter time to acclimate your finish as well. Don't bring it in out of a hot van that's been sitting in a hot van in Texas and coat with it right away, right?
Oh God, no. No, that's yeah, that's gonna be a rough one.
All right. Let's see. Too many
Too many
coats
coats required.
required. Yeah. The more coats, the more labor time, the more dry time, right? Standard system, 3+ coats. I know whenever I did traffic HD, back in the day it was just traffic. It was a stain in 2 coats. Hit, really trying to hit the coverage rates. I was conscientious about that, right? And the
Yeah.
stain in 2 coats was a great finish for us. If I'm doing a sealer, it'd be a sealer in 2 coats. Now, I know a lot of guys, the only thing that would change that if sometimes in a kitchen area where if a kitchen was involved, maybe we would. But the only thing I would say about this is, and that, it is what it is on that. And in what you guys were doing on today is honor the dry time on the coats. And I think it's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make is not honoring the dry time. And that goes also with water popping the floor, trowel filling the floor before, sanding before the trowel filler uh, set
Yep.
up, water popping the floor, the stains, certainly the stains.
Well,
Uh,
you really touch on a good one, and I know you've always been a big proponent of that of honor thy dry times, and uh, just what I was showing everybody today with water popping, with the sealer. I showed everybody how to use the um, moisture meter. Okay, the moisture meter. It takes. I said, you can read the can, and a can might say, dries in 2 to 3 hours, but that does not mean it's going to dry in 2 to 3 hours. Or sometimes, it using a moisture meter can pick time up, but the moisture meter will absolutely guarantee you when it's okay to put that coat down, and not trying to guess it, or just like, hey, can says 2 hours. I'm good to go in 2 hours. Well, what was the moisture content of the floor? If the moisture content of the floor, if it's in July and it's been humid and that floor is drawing it in, no, it's not going to dry that as quick as you think it is, just because the can says 2 to 3 hours. So honor thy dry times. I'd like you to somehow figure out how to say using a moisture meter, because the moisture meter takes all the guesswork out of yeah. It was great because we had water popped. We were doing a side by side of chroma and dry fast stain, so we had to water pop the dry fast stain side. And I said to the class, and our baseline reading was 12. So I said to the class, I go, "What do you think? Is it dry?" And everybody's walking over and looking, and said, "Yeah, feels dry, looks good, right?" And I go, let's take a meter. Let's take a reader. And the meter was still at 15. Okay. So we were close, but if you're using the moisture meter, you got to be within 1 point. So our baseline was 12. We had to be hitting 13. So 15 was still not honoring the dry time, but 90% of the time you would have thought, that's good to go. That's pretty dry. We're good. But it wasn't dry enough.
um, I can probably count on one hand how many times I missed the timeline that I gave a homeowner that I'm going to complete their floor. You know what I mean? If I told them
Yeah.
to be done by a certain time, here's how important it was to me. I had a major surgery on my knee one time, and when my wife picked me up, I had her go drop by the job site first before she took me home. So, I can't tell you how important that was to me. I gave up a lot of weekends and holidays to make sure that happened. But one thing that would never I would never go forward is when you like you'd walk in and the stain would be you just smell it. You know what I mean? It just smells too strong. Your shoes walking on it, so they're a little tacky. Back in the oil-based days, it was just like, it looks like it was dry. There was maybe one or two boards that weren't quite dried, and no matter how hard that you want to stay on schedule, no matter how important your schedule is to you, there's times when you just got to call it. We can't code it today. We just can't do it. It's just not ready. I know you have a schedule and I have a schedule, but the floor has a schedule too, and it doesn't care about us. And sometimes the toughest thing to do, because I know how important them schedules are, is to walk away and give it another day, put some fans on it, heat on it, maybe whatever, come back at the end of the day or whatever. But I really think it's that important to honor the dry time.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the crazy part about that is you can install a floor till your arm falls off or until the compressor blows up. You can sand a floor until however, you can sand a floor for 24 hours straight. You can run that sander. Okay. You can push all that stuff, but nobody ever pushes that. What do they push? They push the chemical.
Yep.
You push chemical, okay? You try to cut corners with chemicals, it will knock you on your ass every single time. And
Yeah.
I can't stress this enough. And I tell everybody the same thing. This is where everybody tries to make up time on the chemical. I get it. You're at the end of the job. Things happen, okay? But I tell everybody at every class, become a master of weather. Bona gives you a cheat sheet, okay? And that cheat sheet is our recommended temperature, humidity, okay? We have recommendations. And all you need to do is show a homeowner, like when you say, I need to buy another day, okay? Just show them the Bona cheat sheet. Like, here are the recommendations for the coating I'm doing on your floor. And we're not getting those recommended heat and temperature. Now, I'm saying that when you need to buy time. I'm not telling you that you can't put finish on, just because it's over 80 degrees. We've all done it. We all have to do it. But if you need to buy time, this is how you buy time. Use our cheat sheets with the homeowner.
I mean the the sanding machines have gotten better. The sandpaper's gotten better. The homes are a lot of our open concept rooms, big open rooms now, which makes for faster installations. The finishes are drying shorter. The not short dry time now. The vacuums have gotten better. You know what I mean? But the one thing they can't change is the dry time. It's the one thing that you can't. I mean, even though everything's gotten shorter, everything dries quicker, and blah blah blah. You have to honor the dry time. I think it's so critical that you don't have a complaint down the road. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Durability complaints, scratching and wear is a homeowner pain point. They expecting bulletproof floors, even when it's really just a lifestyle issue. I think that a lot of that comes down to expectations, you know, up front. They got four kids. When you're estimating the job, one of them rolls by on a pair of roller skates, well, and being pulled by a big
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go into my daughter's house.
Yeah.
3 dogs, very rambunctious boys bouncing
Yeah.
around that house. Okay. That floor gets a lot of wear.
And
Absolutely.
and here's the thing, it's forgiving to them if they're walking on a 30-year-old finish that's beat till anyhow, and you do whatever to it, and it's not going to show. But
Hmm.
all of a sudden, when it's a brand new floor, it's beautifully sanded, refinished. Now it looks like a jewel, and then it gets a scratch on it or what have you. Then it's now it becomes a bigger issue, right? Well, I used to roller skate on the floors all day. Well, yeah, it was a cured finish, and let's be honest, your floors are beat to hell.
Right.
um,
But
so
here's the other thing too with that is you're giving them Traffic HD. You're giving them the best product out there, or Traffic Go, right?
mhm,
You're starting at the top of the you're starting at the top of the mountain. Okay.
yeah,
And as long as it was installed right, as long as you hit that 350 to 400 coverage rate, 2 coats, dried, cured, and everything proper, I mean, you have set them up for success. But now you
yeah,
got to take it you got to take it to the next layer and say, all right, here's what you need to do. Okay. Here's what you need. It's like, taking care of your car, washing your car. You're just not going to let your car just become, whatever. You're going to, well, the same thing with the floor. But I think you really have to go the extra mile with teaching that homeowner. And I go back to the lifetime customer and all that, but exactly. And Bona has so many great leave behinds of how to maintain. Like we have a great, a great, I don't know what you want to call it, but we have a great leave behind for the homeowner that says what you should do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Okay.
Mhm.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Grab that. We'll put that out. Talk to your Bona rep or whatever. We can get that out to you. But that is just such a great leave behind. It takes everything off of the table. No, there's no questions. Here's how you're going to maintain your finish: daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly.
So I told you we joke about this that you don't worry about anything, and I was a worry wart. I mean, I worry about everything. When I owned my own business, I mean, there's so many things I worried about, all the different things you have to worry about. But one thing I did not ever worry about was this, getting the callbacks for scratches and early wear and those type of stuff. And I'll tell you why, because I felt like we used traffic, especially towards the end of my career. I felt like I was giving them the best possible finish you could use. I was educating them. We left them, information on how to maintain their floors, and I was accessible if they ever had a question. So I felt like I did my job. So there was no disconnect between, real life world versus, you know, uh, what their expectations could be. I mean, it was all laid
Yeah,
out for them. I feel like
right,
I did. I gave them the highest possible thing that you can give them in any industry, with
right,
with what I was using and the way we were using it, and so uh, it's just was not something of all the things I worried about. This wasn't one of them. It really
right.
did take it off the plate for me. I mean, we used the Tampico brush. I mean, there was no bullets left in the chamber. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just something that I just never really. This was not a concern of mine. Um, Customer expectations versus reality. Um, Matte finishes show scuffs. Gloss finishes show scratches. Natural finishes show dirt. There's no perfect finish. Uh, so, but the homeowners always think that there is, right? I mean, customer expectations versus reality. I think these things come probably samples. You don't see a lot of gloss out there anymore. Um, so, eh, I actually think, we've gone to lower sheens, but I think we're coming back a little bit now. Kind of a
Yeah, I think satin's definitely starting to make a comeback.
I think so. I think the matte finishes were in for a while, but
Hmm.
after a while, just like having a truck that you haven't washed for several months, it just has that flat look to it. Then you wash it, and it gives it a nice sheen to it. Um, you realize, you know what? It's nice to have a little sheen on the floor.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, so I do think satin's making a comeback.
No, definitely making a comeback. So is it natural? I'm seeing more and more natural,
Yeah,
just natural color, not no
not
no
the
colors.
not the stains. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I love them for my business, but I like a stained floor. I
Hmm.
always have, especially if you give me a quarter sawn floor. Oh, by the way, I was going to say when it comes to we talked about dry time, I'm seeing more. I'm seeing more end grain block floors on commercial jobs than I ever have. Okay, uh, be aware if you look at an end grain floor when you have a hardwood floor, all the areas that the spring grain and everything that the stain and the water can travel into or the finishes. Now, if you imagine a bunch of straws and you put them up at a 90-degree angle, now they're all facing up. It allows 10 times more of that moisture and everything to pull into them because all the open grain is sitting straight up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we talk about honor the dry time. It is very, very important that on those jobs in particular that you honor the dry time. Because I've seen it before where someone will stain the floor or they'll put a what's it called, like a oil on the floor, and then they
Mm-hmm.
put the second coat on, and then it bleeds through because it went down and mixed with the stain and mixed with the whatever and came back up. And or even a sealer. Now you put the top coat on. This is not where when you want to seal it and come back in another hour and a half and put another coat on. So just be aware. I'm just seeing a lot more of those. All right, 6, recoat and adhesion issues, contractor pain points. Some finishes have tight recoat windows, returning the sand between coats, blah, blah, blah. Or what they hate is returning the sand between coats, adhesion failures, and those type of deals. Um,
Come on. Come on. We got a 48-hour hot coat window.
yeah,
And I'm not sure about everybody else, but from the old life you and I had, that's double what we're
yeah,
used to.
yeah.
Okay.
And
48 hours, that's an amazing hot coat window, I
yeah,
think.
and that's with water, not oil, just to clarify that.
The traffic products, or well, any of our water, all of our water products, whether any of the water sealers, paints, game line paints, sealers, water-based finishes, sport, residential, everything. 48-hour hot coat window. That's amazing. Okay, so we can throw that one right out of the tight recoat window. Man, 48 hours. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're going from say mega to traffic, you do want to braid that though, no matter what, right? The timeline.
Yeah, when you're mixing families, like you said, like you were just saying, about maybe putting traffic over mega or something like that.
Mhm.
You're mixing families. Just I know, you could probably hot coat it. I know, probably our tech paper would say you could just hit it with a maroon pad. Just when
Yeah.
you're mixing families, just maroon pad it. And remember, a maroon pad is good 350 feet per side. So you don't want a maroon pad 1,500 feet with one side.
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean,
the other one on this one, adhesion issues. Oh my gosh, I am making a living off of these recoat schools that we're doing now.
mhm.
And I'm not sure about anybody else and what other companies are doing and anything, but if you haven't been to one of our recoat classes or, just kind of looked at the Bona recoat system, we are we are absolutely killing it. Okay. If you think that there's any type of contaminant on the floor, any of the oil soaps or acrylic waxes or all those crazy, there's just a huge aisle at Home Depot of all of these products to spiff up your floor, spruce it up. And I know I can't name names on the show, but you all know the products that I'm talking about. That you know man, I think there's somebody on Instagram is like, don't sand your floors anymore, just squirt
Mhm.
this junk on there and wipe it on. And look at that. I saved, $30,000 not replacing my floor. I want to punch this guy in the face. But all those chemicals and polishes and all that stuff, the Bona recoat system is just an amazing system with using our Bona remove and the abrasive brush and everything. It is, I'm telling you, and I know, we've talked about the recoat system on the show before, but it is just an amazing system. So if you're worried about doing a screening coat or a recoat and having issues with any type of adhesion issues, the Bona Prep is a nice little insurance policy for a good floor. It's in good shape, but one of those floors has been misused with those products that probably shouldn't be used. The Bona recoat system, take a look at it. We're doing, man, I bet I'm doing a dozen of these recoat classes a year now because they are just, they're awesome. They're an awesome school, and people are just learning more things to do with the recoat system and the power scrubber. So, man, if you got worries about adhesion issues, come on over. We got something for you.
Yeah, good call. And it's funny because just like so many of our shows that we do, when you start talking about one thing, it blends into so many other things. Um, Nothing exists in a bubble in the refinishing industry. You talk about finishes, it's going to go into sanding. You talked about sanding, it's going to go into wood filler. You go into wood filler, it's going to talk about something else. So it just kind of all ties together. Let's jump down to difficulty in repairs and blending. That's one of the challenges that contractors will always have to face is having to go back and blend something in. And let's say the homeowner that does something to the floor that they don't want to obviously recoat the entire floor or sand the entire floor. They just need a section of it fixed, right? I see that so many times. We've all had to deal with that, right? Um, the consistency of the sheen levels of the products, and again, I told you I was talking about the chemist, the amount of work that goes into that and the amount of tests that goes into that, and the lab that is huge over there in Sweden that works on this is insane. I mean, everything, there's no bullets left in the chamber on that as well, man. I mean, everything that can be possibly done uh, to make it consistent is done. Um, and spot repairs are challenging for the best of us. One thing I always tell somebody, and especially if I'm doing a repair that I'm not the reason for the repair. Like you're the reason for the repair. You know what I mean? You did something wrong to the floor. Your painter did this, or the carpenter did this, or whatever, and you're asking me to fix it. I always, no matter how confident I am in doing my repair, is let them know up front that you know what? When you finish a floor, it's done in one all monolithic run. Everything is out of one container. It's all blended. It's all coated at the same time to give you a certain look. You couldn't go to an automobile and fix a dent on a hood by itself, right? You know what I mean? I mean, so
Yeah,
you have to give them some kind of
right.
disclaimer that
You don't paint part of the fender, you paint the whole fender.
yeah, because how many times have you seen somebody make their problem your problem? And as a young dumb contractor early in the beginning, I go, oh yeah, yeah, we'll take care of that for you. And it didn't quite meet expectations. Now this is my problem, right? It's no longer their problem, it's my problem. So you really got to be careful and that up front. I'll say that first. Secondly, whenever I had to do blend a repair on a job, let's say it's a red oak floor, I would always bring like say a stair tread with me or a long board, and everything I was going to do to the floor, I did to the stair tread first. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
can see what it's going to look like before I put it on the floor. And I could just do it like a section of the stair tread or bring several stair treads or several planks, whatever. Everything I think I was going to do, I would do to that first. And then I remember we one time we used it was on a maple floor, and it wasn't my job. It was I mean, now it was for a really good friend contractor of mine, and he had the guy missed a couple spots or he had some shiny spots on the floor, and he was having a hard time blending it, so he asked me to come in and help him. And one of his guys somehow worked in the photography industry, and he goes, "Hey, I've got this sandpaper. It's like 10,000 grit or whatever. If you want me to try that," and I like blew him off, like, "No, kid, like we got real problems here. You know what I mean?" So, so we were going back to the floor and we were taping off, looking at stuff, and what it didn't blend exactly
get
perfect.
out of here, kid. You're bothering
Yeah,
me.
the homeowner
Yeah,
was out of control,
right.
man, out of control. So finally, the kid goes, "I don't know. I have this stuff in this other industry." I'm like, Someone going to control this kid, or what's the deal with this kid?"
Do you know
Finally, I
who
go,
I am? You can't
I
talk
said,
to me.
finally, we
Yeah.
said, "All right, go get some of that paper, Rob." I'll be damned. I mean, it sheened it up. I mean, perfect. Perfect. And I'm not, I'm saying we didn't do the repair. We didn't do any finishing to the area. We just took
Yeah,
that sandpaper to the existing finish and sheened it up. And I'm looking at the guy like the homeowner now. Now this guy was out of control picky. I'm looking at him now, like, dude, you got nothing now. I mean, it's
right.
perfect. You know, he kept going at every angle to find something wrong, something wrong with that repair. There's nothing, nothing. It was amazing. So, anyhow,
There's
uh,
some awesome tricks out there. I remember listening to your brother and how he was talking about faux painting repairs and things like that. That was a great show.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think one of the best repair tricks I ever learned, I learned from Steve Seabaugh at an NWFA school on chasing the grain.
yeah.
And you know, if you haven't tried chasing the grain, there's got to be a million videos out there about
Mhm.
doing that. But I remember my dad came to a school after Steve taught me. I started doing that at all the schools, right? And my dad saw me doing that whole chasing the grain and staining, and you know, just how amazing it looked on the repair. Uh, I was like, not many times I've ever impressed my dad, but he just
Yeah.
looked at me and goes,
I
"That
I can
is
imagine.
unbelievable. That is just unbelievable." Okay.
Wow, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, there's
No
so many
kidding.
great tricks out there. Um, because repairs are, you know, repairs are one of the toughest ones out there. I'll never forget a lady, I was doing a recoat and the lady had a huge wear spot in front of the door. You know, it's all turned gray and there's no finish or anything. She's like,
Mhm.
"What about that?" She goes, "Can you fix that?" I go, "Oh yeah, no problem." You know,
Mhm.
and yeah, I worked on it a little bit, put down a couple extra coats on it, and I was like, that's beautiful, right? And you know, I got done, and she's like, "You didn't fix in front of the door." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You know, I'm thinking it's beautiful, right?
Yeah,
It's 80%.
yeah.
Well, when I said, "Yeah, I can take care of that," she wanted 100.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
See? And now it's your
See?
problem.
Yes, it was absolutely my problem because I said, "Yeah, I can take care of that." Now, anything that we do like that now, it's all I can get you 70, 80% of the way there. I go 100% is going to be I need to sand coat the entire floor, you know, or whatever, you know the deal.
Yeah, yeah.
But we started giving repairs in percentages, okay?
Well, but
And we because I learned the hard way on that one, like she was not happy with that repair. And I remember looking at it going, "What are you out of your mind? This
mhm,
is came out a level lot better than I thought it would."
yeah. Well, and that's why you can never guarantee a repair. I don't care how good you are. Just why assume that risk? I mean, you know, what I mean, you shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
And two, you know, 70% to somebody else might be complete, might be 70% to you might be 50% to somebody else. You know what I mean? So,
Yes. Right.
and then also consider doing a wall-to-wall repair. You know what I mean? Instead of doing an area out in the field, sometimes it's best just to do it from wall to wall and be done with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're not seeing it just against the backdrop of the entire floor. So, well, traffic
While
goes.
we're talking about this, and I mentioned learning, Steve Seabaugh taught me. He used to be the technical director for the NWFA, and he taught me how to chase the grain on doing repairs. But he told one of the best stories ever. He goes, you know, huge mansion, kind of around where he used to live. They built this huge mansion, and the floors were done, and it wasn't even Steve's job. It was somebody else did the floors and everything. And somebody came in and they were doing a brick oven, bread oven, or you know something like that, and they dropped a couple of cinder blocks and
Mhm.
really messed up like 4 or 5 boards, pretty good. And everybody was like, "Yeah, I'll rip them out, resand the whole thing," you know, blah 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 blah. And Steve came in and gave him a price, and I think at the time he said he gave him a price of like $4,000. And the homeowner's looking at him like, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "I'll just repair those 4 boards."
Mhm.
And they're like $4,000, and he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, That's insane." And he goes, "Well, you can move everything out. You can move out. You can leave. You
Mhm.
can go through all of that, or you can trust me on this."
Yeah.
And Steve looked at her and said, "You won't see a thing." Okay. He goes, "You will not see it." But what he was trying to tell everybody was, if you get the money to take the time to do something like this, because they gave him the job, like thinking that there's no way he's going to be able to pull this off. No way. And he said, "I did." He goes, "It took a couple of days to get 4 boards in there, but you could not tell." But he goes, "I charged enough money where I could take my time and do it the right way."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, he's telling this story, and I'm like, wow, this is such a great story. And somebody said, $4,000? How do you sleep at night? And Steve looked at him. He goes, "I sleep very well because I make money when I go to work." And I like, that was the greatest answer I ever heard anybody say. I was like, that was so great.
Yeah. Well, Steve Seabaugh was and is that guy.
Yeah,
He's that guy.
he
That,
is the
that
guy. Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
yeah. All right. So let's do this. So anyhow, we talking about Traffic Go. If you haven't used it, if you're using a single component, it really truly is a Cadillac of single component finish. We can't claim that it is absolutely exactly the same as Traffic HD, but damn, it's close. And it's a fabulous, easy to use product. And if you haven't used it yet, give it a look. And I always say the same thing, and Rob says the same thing. If you want to try it at one of our RTCs, if you whatever, you just talk to one of the territory managers, and be happy to accommodate you. And I think it rolls beautifully. Trowels, what do you call it? T-bars beautifully. And give it a look if you haven't tried it yet. Like I said, Rob said at the beginning, if you're using, say, Traffic HD and you're happy, then don't change anything. The same thing I say with if a guy tells me uh, I'm doing great with a T-bar, I mean, all my jobs come out perfect, but I don't know how to roll, I go, then why? Just stay with what you're doing. So there you go, Rob. You got anything else you want to say about it, buddy?
I'm all good.
All right. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.